anything else that you've done? You kind of already said it too with email batching and like how you kind of handle that. Is there anything else that you've done that you've said like, wow, the improvements or the impact that this has had on my life has been significant, at least enough to even mention?
Yeah. I think just getting in a good morning routine, and that part meditation is part of that. Um, the other thing, actually, okay, so let me finish that thought and then I'll move on to another idea. So just getting in a good morning routine where you take away a lot of the normal decisions. There's this whole idea of decision fatigue. The more decisions you have to make of like what to wear. Oh, it's raining. Oh, should I wear this? Oh, what should I eat for breakfast? What should I do this? It's like you're kind of you're already exhausting the amount of decisions that you're making right out of the gate. And so taking away all that variability, making very, very clear, having a very clear routine. One of the things that I integrate in my routine is finishing when I shower in the morning, I do a hot shower, and then I finish everyone with like basically a minute to 2 minutes of like ice cold as I can get it. And it's like total shock to the system, totally wakes you up, gets the blood flowing, and I'll alternate. So then once I'm in there for 2 minutes, then I'll flip it back to hot. Hot water comes on, of course, it feels great, and gets the blood flowing there. I think that that's an interesting exercise for a few reasons. One, just the physiological like stimulus right in the morning, get your wake up. It's like doing a shot of espresso right away. You're like, whoa. So that's awesome. I think the other thing that it does is when I first started doing it, and this is a good exercise for everyone, I have this idea of like, we live in our safe environment, right? So the things that we do, most of the time we feel comfortable in what we're doing because we feel safe. Then like over here, we do things in life that are dangerous, like that fatal or will kill us, right? But there's some place in between. And so there's the safe world, there's the fatal world, and then there's the like, okay, this is scary, but it's exciting. And my thesis is that we always need to be living in that world. And we're going to start in the safe world. And when we're kids, like we're exploring the world and we're getting hurt and we're probably more here. But as we get older, we don't like living in that world anymore. We slowly migrate back into what feels safe and comfortable and not doing anything crazy, and we kind of get into the routines. But the problem with that is you stagnate and you stop growing. And so you need to look for activities in your life that will help push you from that safe zone into the exciting and scared feeling zone, not fatal, hopefully, but like the exciting zone. And as you're in that zone more and more, that safety zone starts to expand. And then from there, you have to take the next step, and you start living in that scary and exciting zone. So the example is, if we put it to a real example, and I'll tie this back to the cold showers, is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, when I started, it was white belt. So I go to competitions, I compete in white belt, and that was my not safe zone. I was used to practice. Tournaments were like a whole different deal. So I was living in that, okay, this is scary, but exciting. And at a certain point, after a certain amount of tournaments, for anyone who does sports competitions, I'm sure you can all relate. Once you've been in that white zone or that white belt tournament and that scary zone long enough, like white belt tournaments felt pretty comfortable to me. Like I was doing well, I started winning, like that was cool. So as a white belt, you can't do that so much anymore, but back in the day, you used to be able to be a white belt and jump up to the blue belt division. So now I'm a white belt competing with all the blue belts. So now I'm back into that scary, this is kind of like scared but exciting, and I got nothing to lose, but I'm gonna learn. And I started competing and eventually started doing really well as a white belt in the blue belt division, and eventually got my blue belt. And so then I would do that from blue to purple. And so it's just, as we push ourselves into that scared but exciting zone, it's gonna be scary, but really that's what it takes for us to grow. So the reason that I think the cold showers exercise is good is that's a very, very easy and quick way to start pushing yourself outside your comfort zone. When I first started, I'd turn the cold water on and I'd be like, and like I'd have to like ease in with just my arm, and then I'd have to and try and relax, and then the next day it was a little better and a little better, and after a few months of that, you started to stop fearing this cold water. You're like, okay, this cold water is not a big deal. I can just turn it on and I don't blink, and I just am very comfortable. And so I think that's a very good, not only is it good for the physiological like stimulus of like waking you up and all that, but I think it's also a good exercise to help like reinforce in a small way that, okay, this at first was really cold and scary, like we hated it, it was bad, but eventually you can get used to it. And if you can overcome that, like how can you apply that same idea to other parts of your life, and get more comfortable about public speaking, get more comfortable about, calling people up on the phone. We're so scared to call people on the phone these days, and trying to get over some of your fears and just using that exercise in the morning, and make it part of your morning routine, to help kind of illustrate some of that stuff.